when I think of our early fathers who worked and struggled with just a handful of Christians, and now I see the crowds, the churches filling, the constant new parishes being erected, I say, yeah, the Spirit has been at work among us, and it is very good that I have lived to be able to see it and appreciate it. So the first chapel was quite small. In fact, the first one was a house where the fathers lived, and the chapel was the veranda. And then in 1957, Father Dermot Murphy built the church that we have today. And that really set St. Ignatius on its feet. From then on, people would have no doubt that it was a great centre for the Catholic Church. In the period around independence, there were great developments going on in the country, and the Irish Jesuits had come to Chukuni to run the school and take over what became the Monza Diocese under Bishop Corboy. They lived a very simple life in those days, catering for the school and for the very elementary parishes. They did very good work in the primary schools and set up a whole network around Chukuni. And Chukuni became, in that sense, quite a valuable centre. However, with independence, the emphasis moved into the capital city. And so the Irish Jesuits, who had set up St. Ignatius as kind of a house for the Irish Jesuit fathers when they came to Lusaka to shop, they got help from their own companions back in Ireland, from people who worked at the higher level of education. Some of these people were people like Father Colin O'Riordan, who became a Secretary General for the bishops and became the Education Secretary. At that time, the Catholic Church would have organised over 200 primary schools in the country, and this was the Bishop's central office here in Lusaka. Followed then with him would have been people like Father Max Prokop, who launched Canisius Secondary School in 1949, left it to the Irish Jesuits to look after it, and migrated to Kabwe as a manager of schools, and then to Lusaka, where he became the first chaplain in the new university on the Great East Road. He did sterling work in many different areas and is long remembered by many people, but his base was always St. Ignatius Parish. The parish grew and matured with the help of Father Des O'Loughlin, who was not the first parish priest. He was one in a line, but one who had dedicated a good part of his life to working from St. Ignatius. And he had a great memory. He could remember back people he had helped, even people he had baptized as children. He would still remember them years later. And so the parish of St. Ignatius became a very dynamic parish and always a very united parish, keeping people together and helping them to reach out to others and helping other parishes that were not so well off. At that time too, in St. Ignatius, they not only had Father Paddy O'Brien, who worked as a secretary to the nuncio to the Archbishop first of all, and then to the Nuncio, who had been the first Irish Jesuit to come out and inspired others to come and follow him afterwards. He was a very dedicated and long-living man. He had a companion, there were two of them. The other was Father Paddy Walsh, who worked in St. Ignatius but spent most of his time in the popular church in the regiment, catering to the administration, the army and the police. He's very well known for his work in trying to bring the different groups of the society together across the racial boundaries. He became a very good friend to a young politician called Dr. Kaunda and supported him in his struggle for independence, even to the effect that when he ended up in prison in Harare, it was Father Walsh who brought his family down to visit him in prison. And Dr. Kaunda never forgot the goodness and support of Father Paddy Walsh. Other people who were outstanding would have been Father Kevin Quinn, who was director of the Oppenheimer College of Social Studies and held a senior position and developed it over a number of years until eventually it was absorbed into the University of Zambia. Another person at that level was Father Michael Maloney, whose speciality was economics, and he taught managerial procedures in the Evelyn Hone College for well over 10 years and created a whole group of young business people who could help in the development of the country. So some of the people that I could remember, they were all at one stage all living together in St. Ignatius. And so it was a very lively and a very dynamic group that lived there. They were young, they were full of energy, and they did great work for the country and for the church. Even very early on, Father Colm O'Riordan was appointed the chair of the National Commission on Salaries and helped to formulate the basic structure for salaries on the government, who was the biggest employer outside of the copper mines itself. So these are some of the people who lived there and who established great contacts among the people who were moving and shifting, the people who were leading the country, the people who were important in many different spheres.